Last time on our Mist of Pandaria journey, we cut through the mists and into the land of Pandaria. After venturing through the lush Dade Forest and the bountiful farmlands of the Valley of the Four Winds, Blerdshock has hit level 87. Today, Blerdshock is heading into Kunlai Summit to see what else this new land has to offer. To get to Kunlai Summit, we climb the Veiled Stair, following the path to this cave, speaking with Brewmaster Buff. He takes us on a boat ride through the ancient passage. He and Eggshell, the Grummel, have conversations about Hosen, tigers, and the Sorok who are throwing spears at us. Though Buff assures us that this is just a warning. As long as we don't leave the boat, we're fine. We arrive at Binan village and it's actually fallen under attack by the local Yongol. The Yongol are actually ancient cousins of the Tauren, though they tend to be much more barbaric and warmongering than the cow people we know. We aid the village by healing the injured, recollecting arrows, and repelling the invaders. General Nazgrim is here, recovering from a battle, one we didn't actually see due to skipping like half of Jade Forest, but regardless he tasks us to venture on, aiding some more Pandaren and establishing a forward camp. With our new hold we scout the surroundings, collecting meat for troops, rounding up yaks, and investigating some mogu ruins, taking out a soul caller at the same time. The mogu are going to be a fairly major threat to our Pandaria ventures, so it's good to learn what we can. We help out a local farm which has fallen under attack by more Yongol, so we collect vegetables and save some Pandaren to help. While doing this, I've queued into a dungeon, the Mogu Shan Palace, though this one is already in progress and the first boss defeated. I really like the aesthetics of the Mogu and their architecture. The first boss was a feud between 3 Mogu clans, but again we've had to skip that. The second boss are these Sarok that seem to have infiltrated the Mogu vaults. The Sarok actually being created by the Mogu, serving as shock troops and fodder during the reign of Lei Shen, the Thunder King, though many escaped and we see them all over Pandaria in different tribes. Moving through the vaults, we ascend an elevator toward the final boss, Zin the Weapon Master, with all sorts of traps and weapons flying over the room. Fire, spears, arrows, ground slams, you name it, it's probably a mechanic. Unfortunately, we aren't able to complete the quests in the dungeon, but I'm sure we'll be back at some point. Once we're done with the Yongol at the farms from earlier, we turn our attention to an encampment of them, taking out some fire speakers, destroying oil rigs, and saving Pandaren prisoners. Taking down the fire speakers disables a shield that was protecting the Yongol Warbringer, so we take him out and that hopefully stops some of the Yongol threat, at least in this area. We move out towards the Serpent's Spine, where you guessed it, there's more Yongol. And now with some shark eruption. We aid the Shadowpan, Pandaria's first and only line of defense, a group of elite trained warriors, repelling this threat and saving some locals. Nearby is a small Grummel camp, and they ask for our help with their caffeinated affairs. Some Yetis need taking care of, as well as some goats. They also ask to collect berries for their Bruin to mark these deposits. World of Warcraft really likes its boot jugs. We reconvene with the Grummel outside of this cave, which is housing Kota Kon, the terror of Kota Peak. The Grummel offers the Yeti a treat, and she actually likes it, taking us down the mountain and being chill. In fact, she even helps us with a big task. The Burlap Trail, a trail used by many Grummels for the transportation of goods and just travel in general, is under heavy occupants by local aggressive Hosen, though with the wrath of this mighty Yeti, we're able to easily take down 100 of them. After our time with the Grummels, we meet back with the Shadowpan closer to the wall. There was a recent skirmish with the Yongol from Townlong Steppes, but the vultures are attracted to the aftermath, so we get rid of them and honour the fallen Shadowpan warriors. While doing this, we queue fittingly into the Shadowpan Monastery dungeon, a place very high up in Kunlai Summit which serves as training grounds for the Pandaren warriors. Unfortunately, it seems that, yet again, this place has fallen under influence of the Shah. The first boss is Gu Cloudstrike, who summons lightning circles and at half health goes immune, bringing in a serpent that does a frontal and healing absorb. After taking the dragon down, the boss does constant damage before we take him down. Moving further into the monastery, we find this outdoor section, which I still remember very well from back in the day. Sometimes you get rooted by every frost arrow that's raining down, and sometimes you'd make it the whole way without getting rooted once, which I did this time. Then comes this pretty boring part of the dungeon. Waves of Shadowpan novices come out to assault you as a test, though they don't really hurt or have mechanics, so it's not unusual for people to half AFK here, which you can see I'm doing. To make this a bit faster, people have also landed down on these crates in the corner, and that will snap the mobs there. Just a small tip I've learned later. We take down Flying Snow and Fragrant Lotus, 2 more warriors with, I guess, mechanics? Then we can actually start the boss fight, Master Snowdrift. he does a Fist of Fury frontal, spinning crane kick, and will occasionally disappear then reappear with 2 clones, so you have to work out which one is the real him. It's the one that still has your dots on it. After him, we come outside again where we can see more of the Shah corruption firsthand. We fight our way across the bridge and come across the Shah of Violence. Also, this has to be the best part about Elemental Shaman. Popping Bloodlust with Ascendance and just spamming Lava Burst. You're always on top of the meters for that little bit. As for the boss's mechanics, he spawns spikes under players which chunk and spawn an explosive ad as an AoE, and a blind on the tank that actually resets aggro if not dispelled quickly. Once more, we head outside and fight through Shah-corrupted Shadowpan and their spirits, making our way to Taranzu himself, driven to corruption by hatred. My UI is kind of covering it, but you have a little hatred bar that fills up when you take damage, so you have to meditate before it gets too high or else you'll die pretty quick. These gripping hatreds also pull you to them, as well as an AoE around the boss. But as a group, we take down the leader of the Shadowpan, cleansing him of corruption and setting these Pandaren back on track. Finishing that up, the Yonkel have actually mounted another assault against the Pandaren, but we have the defensive advantage. We use these massive keg barrels, rolling them down the hill and having them explode on the invaders and their machinery. After a while, the big boy Gong Da comes raging in, so we, with the aid of the Shadowpan, take him down to end the assault. We ride a balloon up to the Shadowpan Monastery, which is then when we are meant to find out about the monastery's affliction, but we have just dealt with that, so moving on. We move towards the centre of Kunlai Summit, stopping at the small town of One Keg. The residents have been having trouble with these mischievous snow sprites at a nearby cave, so we take care of them and retrieve some lost grummels, supplies, and trinkets. Completing this, we're offered a cart ride up the mountain, which we accept and at the same time fend off some of those pesky hosen trying to attack us. We come across a wrecked caravan, checking it for supplies, but are ambushed by a mogu and their stone guardians. We take them down and head further up the mountain. This next quest is meant to be about avoiding hazards and overcoming trials, but I have a flying mount, so I can just ignore all of it. At the summit, we meet with Lord Walker Cho, who's going to help us investigate the mogu activities in the surroundings. After taking down an ambusher again, we head down into some ruins where mogu and spirits are lurking. While here we ding level 88, so just 2 levels to go until max. We delve further into the Valley of the Emperors, learning of different mogu dynasties. We discover that the mogu, with the aid of the Zandalari, are trying to bring back their empire. If you didn't know, the mogu and Zandalari trolls were actually close allies many years ago, but fell after getting too big for their britches in an extraordinarily brief summary. It turns out they're actually trying to bring back Lei Shen, the most powerful and fearsome mogu to have ever lived. The trolls have taken Lei Shen's body, so we need to try and get it back, but we're too late in the tombs themselves. We take our exit and ride Cho's companion Mishi to a hot air balloon, which then takes us to the Zuchian province, where we can see the trolls have begun attacking this humble fishing village. The Amani trolls have allied with the Zandalari. We take up arms and aid the village by taking out the invaders, relieving defenders, and taking the weapons from the enemy. When we return to the village, the Amani quickly follow and launch an assault right at our doorstep. We dispatch the Berserkers, Blood Riders, and even the Behemoths using these barrels. In the chaos, we were able to capture a Zandalari prisoner, and we question him about the whereabouts of the remains of the Thunder King Lei Shen. Though we find we are too late, the trolls have already resurrected the tyrant. We do what we can to clean up by taking out a head troll priest and his followers, but the Thunder King is gone, and is a problem we'll just have to face in the future. On our way back through Kunlai, we head to the Temple of the White Tiger. An important yet very quick quest chain takes place here, where we, as members of the Horde, prove ourselves to Zuen, the White Tiger, as being allowed into the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, fending off different Shah manifestations that come from within, ultimately leading to the Gate of the Augur Celestials being open. Vale of Eternal Blossoms being another beautiful zone, home only to endgame quests, dailies, and the main hub. It's still a gorgeous zone with great atmosphere and music, though that's all of Pandaria to be fair. Moving on, however, our next zone is the Town-Long Steppes, home of the Shadowpan warriors and currently a battlefield with Yongol and Mantid alike. We begin by aiding the Pandaren in a skirmish with the Yongol, stopping the invasion by reducing their numbers, freeing some animals, and burning their tents. Stepping into this new place, I've noticed that the enemies have gotten significantly stronger, so hopefully we can get some new gear soon to try and catch up. We queue into another Shadowpan monastery as we're clearing out the camp. I'm trying to get into the dungeons we haven't done through the random dungeon fighter, as doing the quests in there give a really good amount of XP. Unfortunately, we've done Shadowpan already, so it's just back to questing after the quick run. After dealing with the Yongol here, we move to a nearby village, though this one in ruins, teeming with bodies, hyenas and vultures. We remove the scavenging creatures and burn the bodies that have been left behind from whatever battle happened here, and at the same time, we're trying to find a Shadowpan warrior who's gone missing. Through some research, we find that the place is actually teeming with Shah corruption, spirits of hatred and spite. We get to work by cleansing the spirits and relieving some Shadowpan of their inflictions. While doing so, we find Suna's Silent Strike, the missing Shadowpan we were searching for previously, though she was possessed by the Shah of Hatred after losing her husband, so we unfortunately have to put her down. Our next point of interest is the Gowran battlefront. Here our first task is to fend off some mantid scouts and collect violet citron to aid the troops. Then nearby we find some mantid being very sneaky on our flanks, so we flare them up to get rid of them, rearming traps at the same time. We return to the front of this battlefront, fending off attackers, healing the wounded, and collecting their limbs for a reason I don't honestly remember. Taking a break from the mantid, we head to this great ravine where these sprites have orbs which could be of great use as improvised ammo for the Shadowpan. It doesn't hurt to take some of them out either. Sprites are almost always troublemakers, and that's the last thing these warriors need while dealing with more present threats. Back at the battlefront, we use our ammunition and load it into a dragon cannon, raining down hellfire on the mantid swarm, but as we kill 50 of them, a great boar worm emerges from the ground, but we take it down with the Shadowpan at our side. After felling the great beast, we move to Dusklight Hollow to help out some initiates. Some scorpions infused with Shah energy are causing problems, and arrows are to be collected. Nearby is a great felled tree trunk, which is acting as a bridge between the Tanlong Steppes and the Dread Wastes, where the bulk of the mantid army remains. We move in and take out some of their forces, before crossing the bridge with Lao Chin, the Iron Belly. Together we make a stand against waves and waves of lesser mantid, as well as a leader, so that should deter them, at least for now. At a nearby overlook, we convene with more Shadowpan. We're dealing with a large force of airborne mantid. We burn bodies to pollute the sky with smoke, and shoot them down with a cannon. In the last moments, we also blast down a massive kunchong, which are these massive insectoids the mantid employ in their army. However, it's not over yet, so together with Hawkmaster Nirong, we head down and finish it off. We now heads towards Sikavess, scouting out the surroundings before heading in. Together with some Shadowpan agents, we take down key members of the mantid forces, before reconvening to travel underneath a great tree, where the Shah of Hatred has manifested. Together with the Pandarian we've battled with before, we take down the aberration. Tanlong Steppes appears to be safe, for now, so we take the fight further, and we make our way to the Dread Wastes. This is where the extreme mass of the mantid army lies, but we'll soon see that not all mantid are necessarily against us. We head to the Serpent's Spine, where we are tasked first to deal with a minor but current threat. The Dread Spinner spiders have overrun the area, so we need to take care of them and find a missing marksman. In the process, we queue into another dungeon, the Gate of the Setting Sun. Here we are defending the wall against mantid invaders. The first boss is all about bombs, becoming bombs, dodging bombs, there's a lot of explosions here. The second boss, Striker Gardok, is a pretty annoying one. He strafes the platform with fire and only the range can really hit him, and he doesn't even die if you bring him to zero while he's flying. But if you didn't know, if you tank the boss on the elevator you come up at, it bugs out this bug, making him either not do the strafing run or moving extremely slowly when he attempts to do so. We then light a large brazier which enables the third boss, Commander Remok. He spawns waves of adds to be cleaved down, and drops these green pools which increase his damage done and reduce your damage dealt, as well as a frontal on the tank. Moving on to the final boss is Raigon, an incredibly enormous Kunchong who is ramming the gate. 2 DPS need to use the cannons to launch onto the beast and take down a weak spot. Then once that's done, the boss will randomly fixate a player but goes down very easily. Another nice boost to XP and some decent quest rewards. Coming back to the open world, we find Marksman Lan, who tells us he found 2 mantid fighting, so he recommends we investigate while he returns to his post. In this small cave, we find one mantid about to kill another, so we take down the attacker. The dying mantid gives us a tuning fork and asks us to break open an amber case as its last wish. I don't think the quest text really explains it, but the reason there are mantid fighting is that the current empress has been overcome by Shah energies, and her loyalists are now fighting the Klaxi, those being mantid who protect their race for tens of thousands of years, serving as a way to make sure their empire stays on the correct path. They aren't necessarily allies, so to speak, but they are at least the enemy of my enemy, and of course, they'll have vital knowledge about the Shah corrupted mantid, so we'll be working with them throughout the zone. In this amber case is one of the paragons of the Klaxi. These are incredible mantid who are key factors in the mantid wars. They preserve themselves in amber and occasionally awaken to continue the fight against the war, or to aid the Klaxi when the Empire steers off their path, like this now for instance. It's kind of confusing and I don't remember all the lore right now, but there's information everywhere if you're interested in learning about it. The first paragon here is Kulruk the Wind Reaver. These ruins around us are actually from a mogu stronghold long ago. He asks us to take out some remnants of the spirits that dwell here, and collect some sapfly bits for a little pick-me-up. He then flies to Klaxi Ves, the holdout of these temporary allies. Our first task is to fly close to the seat of the Empress and take out large amounts of the mantid either being manipulated by or simply loyal to the Empress. While there we find another amber prison holding a paragon, Malik the Unscathed. Freeing them, they quickly fire back to Klaxi Ves. We return with them and are sent back to this great scar of Shah energies to cull more of the enemy mantid and stopping them from producing more eggs. At this point, our main objective is to awaken more of the paragons, which will help us against the Empress and her army. We head south to the Lake of Stars, where the Mistblade tribe of Sauroch can be found. While clearing the den, we find another amber prison, housing Corvin the Prime. He tasks us with finding amber in the lake as food and slaying Crocolists for the same reason. Corvin notices that the nearby tree is very dry when it comes to amber, and we decide to investigate, finding that a humongous Shah-corrupted Crocolisk is to blame, so we take them out as to, quote, lessen the pain of the dying tree. Our next stop is Amberglow Hollow. After taking out some mantid inside, we talk with Korik here, who has us collect jars of amber and slay nearby enemies trying to do the same. After doing this, we head south towards the sea, where we uncover another paragon, Kaztik the Manipulator. We follow them through the beach and past the Sorok to find an ancient weapon which would be of great use. To find that this weapon is actually a baby Kunchong, Kovok, Kaztik's personal pet. The mantid returns to Klaxi Ves while we take out nearby Sorok and turtles to feed and train the little bug. On a nearby island we find Xanthik the Dissector, who upon freeing we must immediately protect from enemy mantid, though this is all they need from us to return to base. Our next paragon is Skier the Bloodseeker, whose location is underwater off the coast in a small little cave, surrounded by Sorok. They task us with collecting all sorts of food, starfish, clackertails, and blood from sharks. Upon returning from our meal collection, we find the mantid under attack by Sauroch, but they very much seem to be enjoying it, the title of Bloodseeker seeming fitting. We stand with them as more Sauroch approach. They stay a while longer to keep fighting, but fun, as we return to Klaxi Ves. Heading north we find some Pandaren who are harvesting the sap from a tree. Obviously the Klaxi aren't huge fans of the Pandaren taking their precious amber, so we talk with them and come to an agreement. We'll take down some enemy mantid, benefiting all of us, and help the Pandaren with their brewing, which they'll then offer to the Klaxi. I'm not even sure if Klaxi drink, but maybe they love some ale, I don't know. Heading into a den underneath the tree, we take out some mantid and return with an ancient scroll, which actually turns out to be a very old recipe which these Pandaren want to replicate. We also find Chen Stormstout, who's looking for more of his relatives on Pandaria. This beer recipe has us collecting Musha and teeth and shades from Shah. While we're here, we decide to collect lost supplies and eliminate more mantid. In doing so, we find Shen Stormstout, who has discovered the body of a relative, Evie Stormstout. He didn't know her at all really, but he is still saddened by the news. We return to the brew station where we find Chen in the midst of a burial for Evie. He then asks us to find another Stormstout he's heard of in the area, Han. But before we do that, we take out some nearby mantid and collect core wood from these fallen treants for the brew. This quest was another one which was awful on launch day. Awful spawn rates and everybody was running around here. Heading underneath a nearby great tree, we find Han Stormstout, who's unfortunately been encased in amber. Not sure for how long or why really, but Chen takes it as a death. We even take him back, maybe to break him out one day, but this quest confused me a bit, to be honest. The brewmasters still require more ingredients, but are unsure of where they could be due to their strange nature, so we go with them to the west to find some sprites, as apparently they may have some. These Rickerton sprites seem pretty chill, in great contrast to what we've seen before, and they actually agree to help, but they need our aid first. There are mist lurkers around causing trouble, so we take them out, as well as returning these giant mother seeds to the mother seed pit. We also collect fairy dust from fairy dragons as an ingredient. For our help, the chief performs a ritual to bind this fork with glamour, which apparently is needed by the recipe. This is a lot for a beer, but the Pandaria do love their brew. The final stage has us enter another den, slaying 3 different named mantid. Here we find not only Mama Storm Stout, but another Klaxi encased in amber. It looks like the mantid are attempting to mind control them for some reason. Thankfully, we do reunite these 2 Storm Stouts. We return to the brewing base with the final ingredient, being some solidified amber. Though it turns out, this recipe was really just a means to free the Klaxi. The resulting brew was just a mash of ingredients and is apparently pretty horrible. As you can see, we are incredibly close to hitting level 90. Being only 1 quest away, and the final quest we are doing is to awaken 1 more Klaxi, Zariel the Poisoned Mind. Close to the coast is another den under a tree, slaying 4 different mantids who were trying to destroy the Paragon. We free them, and handing in that quest, we have hit level 90, so our questing is at an end. Looking not so fashionable, I'd say, but this means that our grinded endgame can begin to prepare for raiding. My first agenda is gear, and many classes' best in slot trinket is from Inscription, which my shaman happens to be. This was close to the launch of the expansion, so prices for the Darkmoon cards were still pretty high. We're after the relic of Yulon the caster trinket. The money I get from crafting other cards, and money I save from crafting my own, adds up well. There's also world bosses to kill, one being the Shah of Anger. He drops a mix of PvP and PvE gear, but it's still good because it has full secondary stats and is the highest item level stuff before raids. We don't get any loot from this kill, but it does give a guaranteed quest drop which rewards 476 boots. We've got Galleon here too, a gargantuan Mushan beast being directed by a Sarok warband. This one can drop some pretty good gear that's still good when you're raiding, but we don't get anything unfortunately. But with the world bosses out of the way, our next goal is to talk with Rathian, the Black Prince. He's the last child of Deathwing, and is looking to aid us in our mission in Pandaria. After a drink, we are tasked to gain honoured reputation with him, and gain 10 sigils of power and wisdom which can be earned from the raid. This is part of the lengthy legendary cloak quest line which spans throughout the whole expansion. For now, we can continue the gear grind by queuing for heroic dungeons, which will give us 463 gear. We get into dungeons from Pandaria that we've seen before, such as Stormstout Brewery and Shadowpan Monastery, but also some older dungeons which were reimagined with Mr. Pandaria, like Scarlet Monastery, Scarlet Halls, and Scholarman's. We can also grind Arena for conquest points before raiding, as it can provide item level 483 gear which won't be replaced for likely a while. I did this on my warrior and it wasn't too bad, but looking back, I think I was carried by arms. Queuing with my friend Voodoo, I'm really struggling. I always get focused and don't get to do my bigger sentence bursts. But we do win some, and together we get our conquest caps done. With some fresh new transmogs and gear, it is time to head into our first raid of Mogushan Vaults. The first boss is the Stone Guardians. 3 of 4 different Quillen protect the vault, and they each have unique abilities. Since Elemental Shaman is quite mobile, a big part of my job this fight is to paint these tiles on the floor to increase the whole raid's damage. There's also traps and pulls to avoid, chains to break, and a massive AoE damage you need to stack for. Not a bad boss, but one that can be easily wiped on. It takes us a few tries, but we get it down. Nothing for us though. Second boss is Feng the Accursed. He rotates around the room with 4 different weapons, enabling different mechanics. The tanks also pick up 2 objects to start. One absorbs an ability from the boss, while the other is a massive AoE shield for the raid. The staff makes a ranged have to stay out and pulses AoE damage. With his shield he can throw it to spawn adds which need to die before reaching it, or be absorbed by the tank AoE shield. The fist weapon requires the tank with the absorption ability to protect a range that's baiting with the other tank. Then stun the boss as he casts extreme AoE damage. Finally is the polearm, which has people drop fire puddles which he then sucks up. This can be eaten by the AoE shield tank to reduce raid damage taken. We get this one on our third try, just messed up the tank abilities once or twice. A ring drops which we could use, which we do win. Good stats too. The third boss is the troll Garjal the Spirit Binder. He summons totems which send people down to a shadow realm, who can then kill adds to reduce raid damage. He sends a tank down too. In this upstairs area he also duplicates damage between 3 people. We wipe a couple times due to really high enrage damage, but we take him down. Third time's the charm. I know the caster ring drops, but I decide to pass on it as the stats aren't very good. Critical strike isn't my best stat because a lot of my damage is lava burst, which always crits anyways. Fourth in the vaults are the Spirit Kings. 4 different bosses which come out separately, each with their own mechanics that echo throughout the fight. I'm going to pronounce these very wrong. Kiang requires people to stack with the tank, has a mass dispellable shield, and dodge marching lines of mogu warriors. Subutai has pinning rains of arrows, arrow frontals, a pillage that removes armor and damage, and a buff which lets him be stunned, but if he gets hit without being stunned, it reduces your damage dealt by half. Main can reflect damage and do a lot of tank damage, but primarily has an AoE mind control where everybody needs to take a certain amount of damage, but it's very easy to accidentally kill people, so you need to watch what abilities you use here. And finally, Xian has skulls which need to be kited and killed, a shield which needs to be purged, and cast that hurt. We tried this for quite a while on Heroic, but decided to just get it done on Normal. The fifth boss, and probably my favourite here, is Elegon. Standing on the platform in the middle increases your damage done, but also increases your damage taken and stacks, so you have to occasionally reset by moving out from the middle. There's adds that spawn that need to be tanked outside the middle, and he will sometimes go dormant and start spawning charges which rapidly advance to these conduits. Every time you kill them, he takes more damage. So it's a mix of a burn phase and an add phase. Once one charge reaches a conduit, you need to DPS them down while some adds spawn. Once all are down, the platform in the middle reforms, and you can repeat the phase until 20%, where it turns into a big burn phase. Takes us a little bit, but we get this done on Heroic. Nothing for us here though. Finally, we finish up with a normal Will of the Emperor fight. A very unique, but overall not super interesting boss if you're not a tank, at least in my opinion. Basically a glorified add fight. These small adds, the Rages, fixate on random players and hurt. They can be fully CC'd though. These big ones, the strengths, can be tanked but don't actually melee, they just do a frontal slam. Finally are these Courages, which will fixate a tank and slow if they make contact, with the deflecting shield on the front. Eventually the real bosses spawn, Janzi and Kinsey. I probably pronounced those even worse. These share health and make the melee, at least on normal, and tanks do a little dance. The fun part is that if you complete the dance without getting hit, you get the ability to do an insane chunk of damage to the bosses. The boss is much more hectic on Heroic, but pretty easy on normal. We get this boss down in our first try. No loot for Blerdshock this time. Overall, Mogu isn't a bad raid, but Mist definitely has some better raids to offer, that's for sure. Otherwise, that's it for this feature of Blerdshock's adventure in Mists of Pandaria Classic. If you haven't tried Mists of Pandaria for whatever reason, again, I really recommend. I believe it's some of the higher quality leveling WoW has to offer. It's beautiful and engaging. The endgame was rewarding, not overly difficult, but it's not a pushover either. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in my next adventures in Azeroth.